taking trips, cause I never tripped on what they said. If you speaking from your heart, naysayers gon' aim for your head.
Hello guys, it's me Extra, and today we're going to be looking at a steel frontline tank deck, and later on we're going to be looking at its guide, and also we are going to be looking at the recent changes made to steel's kit after the V40 update. So moving on to the deck, guys, we have the prime card as the Centurion. The Centurion is the only prime card that gives you HP when you get the R prime, and it gives you 300 HP to be exact. And then moving on to the consumables, we have the health potion, health token, scout sword, shepherd's file, healer token, blink charm. And the reason I swapped out the mana potion for the shepherd's file is because the shepherd's file is a more supportive version of the mana potion. Like the mana potion gives you mana regen for 15 seconds, whereas shepherd's file gives you mana regen plus gives 6 health regen to nearby allies for 7 seconds. Now that would be ideal if you're trying to support your carry in the safe lane. And then we have the reason I couldn't swap out the health potion for the Mender's file is because I didn't have it, as you can see here. I didn't have Mender's file, but if you do, I would highly recommend swapping it out for the health potion. And then the health token is nothing special. If you're having extra points lying around, buying this would be a good idea, I guess. 60 health. And then you have the scout sword, nothing to explain here. And then the healer token, well, it's gonna give you 2.8 regen for 2 CXP. When would you be buying this is when you're facing a lot of harass in your lane and it's causing you to come back to base a lot. So you would be buying this to increase your survivability in your lane, and so you can support your carry in the safe lane for more time. And then the blink charm, well, the blink charm is going to be a part of the final deck, one of the 6 cards. So you're going to get it around mid game. That is when most of the team fights start happening, and when most of the team fights start happening, you're gonna be in the middle of the battle because you're a tank. And when you lose the team fight, you're gonna need a good escape, and this will provide that escape. It's gonna teleport you forward and has a cooldown of 180 seconds. So you need a good escape, a reliable escape. So this is gonna give you a reliable escape mechanism. There is another one, it's called Teleblink. There is another card with a similar feature, Teleblink, but what it does, it won't work for 5 seconds if you take damage, so that wouldn't be really useful in a team fight where you're going to be taking damage continuously. But here it works nonetheless if you take damage or not. So this is going to be your escape mechanism mid game when you're gonna be in the middle of team fights tanking all the damage. There are other uses for this card too, like if you want to set up ganks for your team and initiating team fights or chasing running players. It could be used for all the other purposes also. Initiating team fights are gonna be its main use, as you're gonna blink charm in and then ult and then wash out. So your ult is gonna give your team enough time to, well, initiate the fight and deal majority of the damage, which would send some of the enemy heroes running back and in turn win you the team fight. And then moving on to the equipment, we have the LMH Amulet. This is gonna be your one and only health card in the entire deck. You're gonna have other health upgrades on other cards, as you can see right here, but this is gonna be a dedicated health card. It's gonna give you 6 power, 60 HP, and with fully upgraded, it's gonna give you 120 HP. It's accompanied by 1 celestial health, 1 divine health, and 1 greater health. Generally, you're gonna be buying this towards mid game, and then slowly upgrading it by the end of the game with all the other cards. And then we have the Lord's Ward. You're going to be swapping it out for the Scout's Ward early game around level 3, I think. It gives you 30 mana regen, 60 health, and 0.3 mana regen. sorry, yeah, mana regen, so 30 mana. And then it's accompanied by 2 health cards, two CXP health cards, 1 greater health, and that's it. The upgrades on the ward are gonna be for late game when you have bought all the other cards in your deck. You're gonna be saving up for late game. And then you have the quenching scales. It is one of 2 support cards in the deck. What it does, it gives you 60 health, 0.3 mana regen, plus it has unique passive. It's gonna give 0.6 mana regen to you and your allies, nearby allies. It's accompanied by 2 lesser healths and 1 basic spark. And when fully upgraded, it has a unique passive, team heal. It's gonna heal you and your allies for 25 health and grant them 24 basic armor for 20 seconds. You can only use it once every 80 seconds, and it costs 75 mana. Another thing, your allies can only be affected by team heal every 20 seconds. So if I just did that. Well, that's really awesome, I guess. Yeah, the thing, well, if you're having 2 supports in your team, so you're gonna be, if both the supports, you and your ally, are having the quenching scales at the same time, you should not pop at the same time, because you need to coordinate between you and your ally. Because if you pop them at the same time, well, either one of them is going to be used and the other one's going to be wasted, which is not really ideal. Well, this card can save lives, and I'm serious. The 225 health and the 24 basic armor can be very crucial in winning very, very close team fights, giving you the edge in turn. And then moving on, we have the Honor of the Pure. What it's gonna do is gonna give you 60 health and 30 mana, plus it's gonna give Team Shield, which consumes 100 mana but shields you and your allies for 3 seconds, nearby allies for 3 seconds, absorbing 125 plus 25 into player level. So it's accompanied by 1 greater health. So this card is gonna scale as the game goes on, because it's gonna give you 125 plus 25 into player level. So player level is gonna increase as the game goes on, and this card is gonna become better and better as the game goes on. The ideal time to pop the Honor of the Pure is gonna be around mid team fight, because most of the damage is gonna be dealt, and so when you pop it during mid team fight, there's a high chance that the shield will absorb damage instead of getting neglected. Because sometimes when you pop it at early team fight, sometimes the team fight won't happen because the enemy team might see the shield and back away. But mid team fight, they can't back away. They are determined. They have given everything, they can't just back away. So mid team fight is gonna be the ideal time to pop it, and late team fight is gonna be ideal time for popping quenching scales. And the Thermal Bond is gonna be your tank survivability card, I guess. You're gonna be getting this late game because that's when ADCs start coming into effect, and that is when you're gonna start running from team fights, because ADCs are gonna start butchering you, and I'm not even kidding. And it's gonna give you 120 health, 6 ability armor, and it has a unique passive, Determination. It's gonna heal you for 12% of your max health over 4 seconds after being stunned, rooted, or knocked up. Plus the effect can stack, so just keep that in mind. We're gonna come back to that later. And okay, so it's accompanied by 2 greater healths and 1 health. So as you can see, most of the upgrades, actually except one, all of the upgrades are going to be health upgrades. So you really see where this deck shines. It's going to shine at the end of the game. You're going to have around 4,000 health, 3,900 or 4,000 health, which is a lot. It's going to allow you to distract an enemy team in team fights for quite some time. Plus, it's gonna allow you to soak up tremendous amounts of damage. And plus another thing is gonna be, when you're gonna be late game, don't be afraid to die. Like, I'm serious, don't be afraid to die. Put yourself on the front lines and die for your team. And like, don't take that in the wrong manner, please. Like, there are gonna be some people who are just gonna bullwash and just die, and their entire team's back behind, and they will have no chance of defeating the ADCs on the enemy team. So what I'm trying to say is, stay on the front lines, tank the most amount of damage you can, because that is your role. Tank, not attack. So just tank, stay on the front lines, tank as much amount of damage as you can. Don't be afraid to die. Like, go in, try to keep the ADCs busy so that they don't target your ADCs or casters or supports. Try and keep them busy. Use your bullwash effectively, don't miss it. And another thing would be your ult. Your ult is very important. It is one of the best ults in Paragon, period. So your ult can win team fights and games, so use it very, very efficiently. Because and don't be afraid to use your ult. It has a relatively short cooldown, around 60 or 80 seconds, I believe. I really don't know right now, but it's around 60 or 80 seconds. So don't be afraid to use it, but whenever you use it, don't miss it and use it on the correct people. That's all I want to say. And then after this, we're going to be moving on to the guide, guys. This is going to be deck. And another thing I would recommend to you guys, changing up the deck to your own playstyle. Because everyone knows there is no one playstyle for everyone and no one deck for everyone. And if you will be changing up the deck, two cards that I would highly recommend would be Shockwave. It's going to deal 50 damage and slow nearby enemies for 25 max movement speed for 3 seconds. This, generally you would use this to slow down runners so that your team can catch up to them. So the ideal scenario would be, you would Blink Charm next to the guy, Shockwave him, bullwash him, so your enemy team, so your team can catch up to the guy and kill him. And the other card would be Rally the Troops. It's gonna give you 5.5 attack speed and 0.3 mana regen, but it has a unique active. It's gonna give 33 attack speed to nearby allies for 5 seconds. And it costs 50 mana, 35 seconds cooldown. So this card would be ideal if you're having a lot of ADCs and ADCs who need attack speed to deal as much damage as they can. So if you're having Chimera or Greystone in your team, this would be ideal because their ADCs, they deal tremendous amount of damage, and attack speed is just going to increase their damage output. It would be disadvantageous if you use it in a team of casters like Gideon or Lieutenant Bellica or others. It would be disadvantageous, but if you use it in ADCs, when you're on ADCs, your ally ADCs, this could actually be very, very important in killing the enemies. And I think that would be it, most probably. That's it. Yeah. That's the deck right there, and we are gonna be moving on to the guide right now. So moving on to the deck guide, guys, we are gonna be starting at level 1, 0 CXP. So you're gonna get 3 CXP at the beginning. So what you're gonna do with the 3 CXP is gonna be you're gonna get the health potion, Shepherd's File, and Scout Sword in 2, 3, and 4 slots respectively. And then around level 3 you're gonna swap out your Scout Sword for your Lord's Ward. And then around level 5 you're not gonna get any of the upgrades. These are for late game, you're saving up. And then around level 5 you're gonna get the quenching skills. You're gonna swap out your health potion for your quenching skills. The reason is because at level 5 you're gonna get your ult, and this is the time you're gonna start rotating to other lanes to support the heroes to gank with your ult. And when you do gank, you're gonna take damage, and you're gonna need a heal support card to support you and your friend in the lane, ally in the lane, and to keep you and your allies alive. So this is going to be that. This card is going to fulfill that function. And then around level 6 or 7 you're gonna get the blink charm, because around level 7 or 8 the ADCs are gonna start dealing damage, and this is when most of the team fights are beginning. And so as we discussed before, you're gonna need escape for that, and you're gonna need to initiate team fights. This card will fulfill that function. The reason you're getting it before on level 6 or 7 is because it would be better to get it earlier, before the team fights are beginning, rather than when the team fights begin. So around level 8 or 9 you're gonna get your Elder Mage Amulet, and you're gonna get one upgrade, 3 CXP upgrade on it, so that you can survive the team fights, because this is when ADCs start acting up and get farmed up. So you're gonna need a bit more health to survive them. And then on level 9, 10, this is when some of the ADCs start getting serious. Not very serious, but just a little serious. And you're gonna swap out your Shepherd's File for Honor of the Pure. Generally, if you're going against low elo enemies, the ADCs won't act up until level 13 or 14. But when you go against high elo players, this would be ideal, because this is when ADCs start acting up. Another thing is you have to always keep an eye on the enemy levels, because if they get too high, you're gonna need some of the other upgrades faster, and you're gonna need to get farmed up faster, because otherwise you're just gonna get slaughtered very quickly, as you have no damage or something to fight back with. You have Bull Rush, but it really doesn't deal enough damage, and your basic punch is kind of weak. Let's say that, kind of weak. Okay, so around level 11 and 12 you're gonna get another upgrade for the Elder Mage Amulet, and around level 13, 14 you're gonna farm a little bit. Instead of supporting, you're gonna farm a little bit, and you're gonna get Thermal Blood. Now this is gonna be really important at level 14, 13, before you get all your upgrades, health upgrades. The reason being because this is when most of the ADCs start acting up, even in the lower elos, and generally this is the time when you're gonna start getting critically wounded, so you're gonna start running from fights. I know I said before that you should die, but generally if the team fight's over, or if you're outnumbered, you're gonna run. You're not just gonna die. Well, this is gonna be when this is gonna act up, and it's gonna be very crucial for your survival. It's gonna heal you for 12% of your max health over 4 seconds when you get knocked up, stunned, or rooted. 12% of around 2,300 is gonna be around 250 or something. I really don't know the exact number, but that's gonna be pretty close to the answer. So you're gonna get a Thermal Blood. You have most of your upgrades still lying around, so you're gonna max out to level 14 or 15, and you're gonna get all your other upgrades. The reason you're not getting your upgrades earlier is because you're gonna be a tank and you won't farm. You will not farm. You don't have to farm. And later, when you hit level 15, you're slowly gonna start gaining, making your way to 60 CXP. And very late game, you're gonna get 60 CXP. When you do, you're gonna get all these upgrades. Well, this is gonna be the guide, most of it. By the end of the guide, you're gonna get 6 power, nothing really special. You're gonna nothing really special there, but you're gonna have around 3,900 health. That is a lot of health. 3,900. Greystone, a bruiser guy, a bruiser hero, makes on a normal deck maxes around 2,000, 2,500. You're gonna have more than 1,000 HP more than him. Now with the 3900, you're gonna start tanking a lot more damage, which is gonna make you a very effective tank, of course, but also it's gonna increase your survivability. You're not gonna die as often as before because you're gonna have a poop ton of health. You're gonna have a poop ton of health to take all that damage, and then you're gonna have health regen 6.2, which really isn't that much. Basic resistance 32, really again isn't that much. Mana is gonna be 760. You have to conserve that a little bit because you're gonna be bull washing a lot. I'm just saying, you're gonna be bull washing a lot, and you're gonna be using your shield slam a lot. Your abilities are really inexpensive, not really that much. You don't really require a lot of mana to use them, but still, it's always better to be a little conservative on the armor, on the mana. And then another thing is the reason there is no ability armor card in the deck is because of the recent changes to Steel's abilities. It gives you 4 stacks of 95 ability armor, that's 3900 armor totally, and 1 stack gets removed each time you take ability damage, instance of ability damage. 1 stack recharges every 3 seconds when maxed out. See, this is a lot of armor. Even if you build a ability armor card on Steel, there is no way you're hitting 380 ability armor. So that's a reason. And another reason and another thing is that there's no basic armor card in the deck is because, well, there is no space. You can't let the ward go because that's one, like, that is the OG card in every deck. You can't let the ward go. The blink charm is really important for initiating fights. The honor of the pure and quenching scales are your support cards, and that is what make your team stay longer in the fight. So thermal bond is really important for your survivability, otherwise you would die pretty quick. And the Elder Mage amulet, there is no question, like that card has to stay, otherwise you are not a tank. If that card goes, you are not a tank, just saying. And another thing I was saying before was another thing, the effect can stack. And just see this, when you shield slam, if there's an enemy Steel on the enemy team, if the Steel ults, he's gonna knock you up plus stun you, so the effect is gonna stack. It's gonna heal you for 24% of your max health over 4 seconds. Plus, if the enemy Steel ults, it's gonna deal 435 ability damage, but you're gonna have 380 ability armor, so most of the damage is gonna get nullified. Plus, you're gonna have your own ability resistance, so most of the damage is gonna get nullified when it hits. But this is when, because this is very, very important. If the enemy Steel tries to shield slam you when you're trying to run away, don't try to escape it. Take it, because it's gonna heal you for 24% of your armor. It is actually a blessing more than harm. And another thing you might be wondering about is if the enemy Steel knocks you up, then there is gonna be an ADC with him, or a couple of ADCs with him. Now, if there's only one ADC with him, well, I don't see a ADC taking off 800 damage, 800 health from any hero within 2 seconds. I have never seen an ADC take down 800 health from any hero over 2 seconds. Like, just look at this. 12% of 3,900 is around 4,400. 24% will be double of that, 800. And there is no ADC or any other hero that can take down 800 HP from any hero in 2 seconds. Unless there are some exceptions, loopholes, I think. Well, but just another thing is that if the enemy team has a lot of disablers, it is actually a blessing for you, and I would recommend getting this card earlier on instead of some of the other cards. I would recommend getting this card earlier on if there are enemy disablers on the enemy team, a lot of disablers on the enemy team, because it'll help you out a lot, keeping you at max health nearly all the time. Just saying. And well, that would be the end of it. There is nothing more to discuss, I think. This is the deck. You could edit the deck, as I said before, but at the end of the day, I would say this is a pretty good deck. It gives you a lot of health for a lot of tanking potential and supporting potential. Another thing, this is the way Steel is supposed to be played. He's supposed to be played as a tank and support. He's not supposed to be played as damage. So I think this deck really uses most of his kit here, and I think there is not really many changes you can make to it, because I went through all the cards and there aren't really many cards that can really fit this deck unless you change the entire deck. But just saying, I don't think there are many other cards that would fit this deck. So well, that would be it. If you want to use the deck, if you feel it's awesome, go ahead, copy this, load it, and if you want to make your own changes, go ahead. It's me, Rex. Have a good day. Over now.